Hey, watch the video until the very end to understand the title. This isn't clickbait, I actually do believe this. Aatrox is a really fascinating champion to me. He's a bad champion right now, but he's also a champion that's always been bad. I mean, that's not a quality that many other champions have. Since he's been released, he's been considered one of the worst champions in League, and not really anything other than a troll pick. I mean, if you have a teammate that locks in Aatrox, there's a higher percentage chance that they're trolling rather than trying to win the game. Even when Riot tries to buff him and maybe rework his kit a little bit, changing some of his abilities and finally making him viable, they can't help but also nerf him at the same time. I mean, after they reworked him a little bit, it was like one patch later they introduced Bramble Vest. He's someone who fascinates me as a champion since there really aren't many other champions out there who have always been so bad. Even other champions out there like Volibear or Nunu, who maybe are considered bad troll picks at times in certain metas, they always at least have one or two metas where they're playable, if not viable. But Aatrox has always been bottom of the barrel. He's never had a time to shine. But the thing that's even more fascinating than that is he actually has some really good qualities. I don't even know if you can call it a renaissance if he was never really good in the first place, but currently we're kind of in a bit of an Aatrox renaissance where he's not really as bad right now. On the last patch, he had the second highest win rate on OPGG for top laners, and still, even now, has a pretty decent win rate with not abysmal play rates. His updates are finally making him kind of okay, even though he still has major flaws. But more interestingly, Aatrox does have, and has always had, a few things in his kit that are actually extremely good. For instance, built-in lifesteal. Infinite sustain is something that is honestly pretty cancerous in League of Legends. I mean, that's why everyone hates Soraka. When you look at a heal bust like Soraka, basically what you see is a champion who's just there to make up for mistakes that teammates make. Like, oh, you made a mistake and overextended and got caught and lost half of your health bar. Well, not anymore. I'm a champion that just takes that mistake away like it never even happened. Healing itself is a pretty bad mechanic to have in the game that's not really enjoyable for many parties involved if it's not balanced properly. But Aatrox is kind of interesting. He has really good healing that can help him out with sustain and laning phase and everything, but it's actually pretty well balanced. Not only does it take forever for him to auto attack enough minions enough times to get healing to heal himself up to full if he's someone that's taken down to like half health or something, but it's also something where he's putting himself in danger. He has to be autoing minions, and the healing is slow enough that it's actually a pretty big risk to go out and try and heal yourself back up to full. Not only that, but it's a really big trade-off if you're going for the healing portion of your W rather than the extra damage and the stack of your passive if you have your W activated. So again, if you're going for the healing either in team fights or in trades or even just in laning phase, then that's a really big trade-off, and it's very well balanced. Aatrox might also be one of, if not the best split pusher in the game. That's obviously a pretty debatable statement, but he's definitely top tier at the very least. His wave clear is very, very good, especially once he gets a timeout item, but more importantly, he is insanely capable in 1v1ing pretty much every champion in the game outside of a few exceptions. Between his DPS, his healing, his build order, I mean, he's really built to 1v1 enemy top laners and can do it surprisingly well with a reliable escape too if he ever overextends and maybe gets ganked. On top of that though, one of the things a lot of people overlook is Aatrox has surprisingly good burst damage and base levels for dealing damage in the early game laning phase. Part of this is because of how his W works. Most 3-hit combos in League of Legends have to be procced in a certain amount of time before they fade away, and then you have to restart the 3-hit stacking, but not with Aatrox's W. Aatrox can stack his W a couple times up against minions, and then when it comes to that third auto, that auto is going to deal bonus damage if his W is active, no matter how long he waits, so he can wait to find a really good engage. Between the damage from his E, the damage from his Q, the damage from this W, and some damage a lot of people forget, which is the AoE damage you get when you cast your ultimate, I mean, all of this stacks together really well and can burst people heavily early on. All of these abilities have very good early game base levels. I mean, when you look at all these things that Aatrox does so well, there's actually a lot that stacks up really nicely. If I was just describing these qualities of a champion in League of Legends, you might think it's a pretty good champion, you know? A champion with good burst damage early, good sustained damage late game, great escapes to dodge ganks, infinite healing, great wave clear, great split pushing for a top laner. This is all the dream scenario. And if you follow some some of the Aatrox mains out there, they're actually able to abuse these mechanics pretty well and carry themselves all the way up to Master Tier. But sadly, there are still plenty of things out there that make Aatrox a bad champion. A lot of flaws that his kit has that are just going to keep him from being played in competitive play. The first of which being just how easy it is to counter Aatrox if you're a good player who understands how to play around his abilities yourself. Like, he's a champion who is incredibly easy to kite. There's a lot of champions out there that are top laners that either have good slows, good movement speed, or both. So if you're someone that goes up against an Aatrox, but basically what you don't want to do is fight him. Just wait for him to pop his ultimate, wait for him to stack his passive, and then once he has all that going, all you have to do is really run away from him. He's not going to be able to chase you down with the long cooldowns on his Q and his E, and he's not going to be able to keep his passive up forever, which means he's going to die pretty quickly afterwards. Overall, he's a very easy champion to kite, and his Q might be one of the worst engage abilities in the game. I mean, I don't know who the hell came up with this ability at Riot, but it's very easy to play around. And on top of that, he's also a really squishy champion that can get out damaged and out 1v1'd by a lot of late game scalers, especially if they're ahead. I mean, Aatrox is really a champion that's built to be a 1v1er, built to be a late game split pushing scaler. So the fact that there are other champions that can out damage him and outscale him in the late game, that's just going to kill his viability. That's supposed to be the one thing he's good at. Conversely, in team fights, he can do somewhat well in certain team fights, especially if it's a smaller fight, maybe 2v2 or 3v3, where he can auto someone a lot and maybe not get blown up too quickly. But in a straight up 5v5, he's going to die very, very fast. He's either going to get blown up, his passive will be popped, and he'll be focused down and killed before he can do anything, or he's just going to get kited and CC'd. And at the end of the day, there are just other top laners out there that can do more than he can. I mean, this is one of those instances where it's not necessarily that Aatrox is an awful champion, but just every other champion out there is so much better. It feels like as much as I want to play him sometimes, there are just way too many weaknesses for opponents to exploit. But that's the thing, I still find myself wanting to play him. He's really, really, really fun when everything goes right. When you get a great combo off, bursting someone in laning phase, or if you're split pushing super well, getting free towers while not getting caught late game. He's super satisfying when you use him right and you do something like time your opponent's escape ability so you know they can't dodge this Q that you're going to set up for a kill. But more interestingly than all of that, he is the best champion in the game when it comes to teaching you how to play him. Playing Aatrox just naturally teaches you how to use his very weird skill set, and that may sound obvious, but consider this. Aatrox is a champion that you basically want to play in a very counterintuitive way, whereas on most champions you want to be passive and just kind of wait until you get a perfect engage and know that you're going to get a free kill if you engage here no matter what. Aatrox is basically the opposite. Aatrox wants to be over-aggressive, constantly overextending, trying to look for auto attacks and barely getting kills while surviving through his lifesteal in 1v1s or in team fights. That's a really awkward playstyle that's not really mimicked on any other champion out there, but the interesting thing about Aatrox is he teaches you how to use this by playing him. Because you're such a naturally squishy champion and because people are focusing you so often, you really want to have your GA up with your passive as much as possible, and that's something that's done by spamming your abilities, getting your E and your Q off, as well as auto-attacking opponents with your W and popping your ultimate and everything. So oftentimes you'll find yourself in a situation where you think you're going to die, but you're not able to escape, so you're going to just start engaging on your opponent, trying to pop everything you have to get your GA up, but you'll actually end up winning the fight. You won't realize that your lifesteal is enough to save you if you engage on that fight, whereas just trying to run away or something like you would do on a normal champion is going to end up getting you killed. That little GA incentive, though, encourages you to learn all your damage output and how much you can heal through going and engaging on your opponent, getting as many auto attacks off for lifesteal rather than just trying to run away or giving up. So suddenly, before you know it, after a few games played of Aatrox, you're really starting to change your playstyle, and you're figuring out how he's played in a way that I don't think I've ever seen on any other champion. No other champion teaches you how to play them in the same way that Aatrox does. It may sound like a very simple mechanic, but it's honestly genius game design. I mean, I honestly think that as ridiculous as this statement sounds, Aatrox might be one of the best designed champions in League of Legends when it comes to how a player learns to play the champion. It feels funny to say say that, and I know I'm gonna title this video something like that, and I know I'm gonna get so many comments saying that I'm either wrong or that I'm just trying to clickbait you, but this is honestly something that's a really interesting phenomenon that I think is woefully underappreciated just because Aatrox might be the worst champion in the game. Despite how bad he might be from a viability standpoint, he's still a very interesting champion, and I really do hope that Riot gives him a little bit of love and a little more attention sometime in the near future, because he definitely deserves it. I mean, he's very, very well designed and very interesting in a way that no other champion has captivated me in this kind of way. Anyway, though, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching today's video. I will be back tomorrow with another video, but until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.